This is the very first ever Marvel Voices live event here at New York Comic Con. I'm Angélique Roché, and I am the host of Marvel's Voices. For those who don't know, Marvel's Voices is a podcast that does long-form interviews with creatives from around the Marvel universe. And it's, I'm pretty much a fan of it. I'm a big proponent of talking to creatives about what they truly love. And the thing that is the heart of Marvel's Voices is that we all love a good story, right? Stories and heroes are something that have existed throughout history. It is something that every single culture, every single race, creed, ethnicity has done. And each story and where it comes from is unique to who tells the stories. I actually have an expert in my pocket. I hear he knows a little something about Miles Morales. He's also one of my favorite writers, Saladin Ahmed. Hey, Saladin. So there are two things that you have to remember throughout this entire thing. One, there is going to be a test. So stick around, there's going to be a quiz, and we're going to give out free things.
Ooh, prizes.
All right, you ready? 3, 2, 1. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Look at that. Miles Morales, Spider-Man.
Our guy.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Miles Morales.
Yeah, he's when we've first met him, he was a kid, and over the course of those adventures in the Ultimate Universe, he kind of starts to feel that he earns the mantle of Spider-Man slowly. It's a sort of tortured thing at first, but he eventually, I think, kind of feels he's up to the task. But it's never a straightforward journey. So he's a kid that's seen some stuff, right?
So here's where we test out your button.
Uh-oh.
Can you push the button for me? Look at that!
Yes, there he is.
So Miles Morales, for those who don't know, was accidentally bitten by a radioactive spider.
Yes, a genetically altered spider.
Yes.
Actually, yes.
A genetically altered spider who I have lots of feels about, who sneaks into a bag at his uncle's apartment.
Yeah.
We'll get back to his uncle in a second.
Oh, yeah.
I know the Miles fans are like, yeah, his uncle.
Yeah.
So what is, in your opinion, the biggest difference between Miles Morales taking on the mantle of Spider-Man and his life before that?
Oh, gosh. I think as opposed to Peter, where it was a total transformation of who he was on a certain level, I think Miles Miles was cool enough that he always sort of was destined to be Spider-Man in a different way. This is how my writer's mind works.
Miles
right?
has swag. He does.
And so his it's not the same. He's a teenager. He has all the awkwardness that you have when you're a teenager, no matter how cool you are. I think he comes to a different place. And certainly by the time, I deal with him, he does.
So can you push that button for me? Yeah.
Yes.
That's, so after he gets bit, he figures this out. But for those of you who don't know, Miles actually doesn't take on the mantle of Spider-Man until Earth 1610's Peter Parker is killed by Green Goblin.
Yes.
So he's still like, I don't know. This may not be for me. What do you mean? I'm superhuman? My dad doesn't like superhumans.
Yes, yeah.
So there's this big struggle with Miles as he kind of goes through. But eventually he takes on the mantle. Can you push the button? And he becomes Spider-Man. But when we first meet him, this kid in Brooklyn, we also realize after he's been radioactively bitten, he's got some interesting family dynamics.
Yes.
Rio and Jefferson are very interesting, but also his very first big fight. He gets in other fights, but his first big enemy is the Prowler, who also happens to be his uncle.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit what do you feel is the most interesting thing about how Miles deals with his family dynamics?
Yeah, it's going to be a big part of what I'm interested in the new book, and it was a big part of what came before when Bendis was writing. Unlike, again, Peter, who has this singular kind of family figure in his life, Miles comes from a real family of several folks, and eventually they pretty much all find out he's Spider-Man, right? And it's a real different kind of relationship than when you are hiding this secret from your one kind of elderly aunt, right? And it's I think each character there's a lot to talk about, right? But his father is a complex figure, an ex-SHIELD agent, right? And has all this history of his own. And at first, is Miles only, he doesn't tell his mom at first, right? He tells his dad first. And so there's a certain relationship there. But then Rio, who is, she's a hospital administrator in Brooklyn. You have to be tough to do that job, right? Yes. And so I think we're going to lean in a little bit to looking at that relationship between Miles and Rio a little bit more. And then Uncle Aaron's going to be a big figure for me in the book.
So you're confirming that Uncle Aaron is back?
Uncle Aaron is back. I don't want to talk. He is back. He is a super ... villain ? Right? because he's going to be a kind of outside the law, maybe stepping back into a mentor role a little bit with Miles, or at least making Miles question some of this stuff that's maybe too easy about who's a hero and who's a villain. I don't want to get too much into what his supervillain alter ego is. There was some speculation on Twitter, and I will neither confirm nor deny, but there's going to be a cool supervillain Uncle Aaron that's going to be a very big part of Miles' life in the book.
I'm here for this. That whole relationship is very interesting to me because it's like, it is the most confusing thing. Not girls, not school. Uncle Aaron is the most confusing thing in Miles' life.
Yeah.
I think one of the other cool things about Miles Morales, and I think about the creation of Miles Morales, is you could have just given him Spidey powers and just made him exactly like Peter Parker, but there's a couple of different powers that Miles Morales has that Peter Parker doesn't, right?
There is, and Miles, maybe due to the genetic nature of what the genetic alteration of how he got his powers seem to evolve in weird ways at times. So during Bendis's run, we saw some weird kind of golden energy webs and things like that. That's going to be scaled back a bit, but I'm leaning into he has what he calls his super venom blast, right? Which a lot of supervillains are going to make fun of, but he still hasn't come up with a better name for it yet. So, but and also his camouflage powers. I mean, to me, Miles is I grew up playing stealth video games, right? And Miles is a stealth character in a way that I don't think has been explored quite enough yet, and in a way that distinguishes him from Peter. So his camouflage is going to be something that I'm gonna start looking at closely.
And he also has a very different suit, right?
Yeah.
And there's this big joke about when Miles first came out. It was right after Peter Parker, and I don't even want to call it a joke. It's kind of like one of those running things that happen, is that they were like, yo, it's in bad taste that you're wearing Spider-Man's suit.
Oh, yes, right.
And eventually he gets his own.
Yeah.
So are we gonna? We're obviously we've obviously seen it. The cover on the back of the booth. If you haven't seen it, it's beautiful.
Cool.
But he's got this gorgeous black and red suit.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to this the unique black and red suit again.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of cool. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but part of what you do in comics when you tell a story is you think about the visuals, right? So it's not only what villain makes sense here, but who's going to look really cool tussling with Miles matters too. And so we've got some really awesome contrasts and splash pages that are going to be coming out of these first couple arcs that I think people are going to dig.
Well, you know what we haven't done in a while is we haven't pushed the button. So I think you want to push the button?
I'll do
Push
it. Bam.
Yeah. Can we push the button one more time?
I think we can. There we go. Oh.
So one of the coolest things is that Miles has a Spidey family.
He does.
Like, even in the original, he had Jessica Drew, he had Gwen Stacy, he even had Earth 616, Peter Parker, come over and be like, hey man, these are the things you don't like. Make sure you wash your suit every day. Please.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing. Will we see some of his Spider family in this new?
Eventually, yeah. Although, we're just coming straight out of Spider-Geddon, and I think part of what we're going to be trying to do with this new book is to kind of just let Miles be his Spider-Man in Brooklyn. It's going to be a very Brooklyn-centric book. And I'm in Detroit, but I spent a lot of years living there, so I have a lot of love,
I live in Brooklyn. I'm here for it.
So that's going to be the focus. Now, eventually, everybody loves the Spider family. Everybody loves the connections, and of course we're going to draw on that. But at first, we're going to have a true Miles solo book in that first little stretch.
So, now that we mentioned, so for those who don't know, I know you guys are out there counting. Miles started on Earth 1610. After a lot of things, after Secret Wars, his family comes back. He's now on Earth 616. He's got these great spider families. Can we push the button again?
We can do it.
And he's done some really great things with a lot of folks, particularly as part of Champions.
Yep.
But even outside that, Miles has crossed over so many places in the Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, audience, I'm making sure that you're paying attention. I'm going to need your help. This is going to be the speed round. Are you ready for this, Saladin?
I think so.
So when I put the mic out to you, I need you to say, push that button.
Okay.
We're going to test this out.
Okay.
You ready? Man, they have been pros their entire life. Not yet. They've been pros their entire life. He's also ready for this. He's been waiting for this
So ready.
his
My
entire
whole life.
life. All right, audience. So Miles has been in the animated series.
Yes, he has been.
All right, so you guys aren't paying attention. Yes. Somebody, I saw you. All right, we're going to try this again, audience.
Boom.
Miles has also been in a number of Marvel games, including the brand new Marvel's Spider-Man for PlayStation 4, where you can actually play as Miles.
Yeah.
You need to play the game. I'm sorry. Can you tell that I'm playing the game?
Yes.
All right. Audience, are you ready? And Miles is getting his own movie. So coming out this December, Miles is going to be into the Spider-Verse.
Indeed.
That is a lot of Miles.
It's exciting. It's an exciting time to be coming on this book when everybody's talking about this character.
Well, with all that in mind, where are you getting your, you have a lot of Miles to work with. What has been your inspiration? What do you feel like the perspective that you're going to be bringing to the Miles canon is going to be this December?
It's like with any character to a certain degree. You look at everything out there that people have done, you respect it, but then eventually you have to come back to the core of the story and strip it back down. I mean, I hope that this book is going to be, I always try to walk this line with fans who've been following a character for a while and people who are new. There's going to be a lot of people, hopefully, after the film, after the video game, who are going to be like, who is Miles Morales, right? That's the name of this panel. And I hope that this #1 is going to answer that question, but is also going to scratch that itch for folks who've been caring about this character for a long time.
So I know everyone's dying after this lovely thing. I know you're also thinking about your quizzes. What is going to be the name of your comic book?
Miles Morales, Spider-Man. And the first issue's out December 12th, I believe.
Yes, it is. I have it on my calendar. Where are we going to find Miles on December 12th? Where is he in his life? Is he, because I know we met Miles when he was 13 years old.
Yeah.
Where is Miles going to be at now?
Miles is in sort of mid-high school. A new school year will have just begun, so we're, a couple months off of, it's December rather than September, but he's just started his new school year. He's got a creative writing class. And so he's maybe not so wisely found that writing in his journal is a big relief, right? And he starts writing things that maybe are pretty big secrets, right? And he's going to have to guard this thing. The first plot has to do with kind of a very kind of neighborhood plot about some kids that go missing, and Miles is the only one who seems to kind of be able to get on the trail.
So I gotta ask, you've been a writing teacher for a while.
I have been, yes.
I see that you have brought some of your life into the comic book.
It's possible. It's possible.
So which is really great. You started off as being writing in poetry and doing sci-fi, and now you've just run into the Marvel family, and now you're everywhere. What has been your favorite thing about creating the new storylines for Miles?
I guess it's two things. You know, it's a different thing when you build your own characters and you have your own novel than when you work with characters that people have this relationship with that they've loved for years or in some cases decades, right? Like when I wrote Black Bolt, I had people coming up to me who were like, I've been following Black Bolt since 1968, and it was wonderful. You know, it's amazing to connect with that community. And then I guess the other aspect of it is the artists, right? I don't know if Javier is still over there, but
Javier is still over there.
He is signing away. You know, working with artists is like, you know, when you're writing prose, you're writing a novel, it's just you and your head and the page and words. When you're working with an artist to create a story, it's this, you know, you get stuff like this happening around you, you know, and it's amazing. I'm loving it.
So if there is one thing that you feel like was a challenge in creating this new Miles story, what do you feel like it was?
I'm old. I'm 42. So trying to get in that teenage mindset again and trying to respect the 21st century teenage mindset, right? I was a teenager in the 90s, right? You know, Miles can't be who I was then. So trying to kind of, now I have kids who are a little younger than teenagers, so I kind of see some of the stuff they're into, and but trying to have that youthful voice without having it come across fake it's a challenge. I hope I'm stepping up to it, but that's going to be up to readers, you know.
I am really excited. I know a lot of folks in the audience are really excited about what's coming up. But I have something fun for us to do.
Yes.
We're gonna give away things.
Let's do it.
Are you ready to give away things?
I'm so ready.
I have questions. I have been waiting to ask this audience these questions all day.
Yeah.
All right, so if you were paying attention, these should be easy. And the first person to answer this question will get something for free.
Yeah.
Something that I actually am kind of jealous of, actually. So, where is Miles Morales from?
I heard a lot of right answers out there.
I heard you. Give that man and that Spider-Man hat a prize.
There you go.
Woo! All right. So Peter Parker and Spider-Man have similar powers, but can you name one of the powers that Miles Morales has that Peter Parker does not?
Just yell it out. Okay, what's that? This guy right here.
Yep. Ben is calling it.
Right
Ben is calling it. I'm letting him have it. And last question, which I think is the most important question. Do you remember the name of the comic book coming out in December that's being written by Saladin Ahmed? I really feel like you drew it out, Kev. I also believe that Miles Morales deserves comic books.
Yes.
It's appropriate.
He does.
It's so appropriate. So, in writing this comic book, I know that you have had a bunch of fun. You put your head in the mind of a teenager.
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of villains.
There are, yeah.
You can't tell us anything, can you? And I'm not going to ask you to unless you can.
Well, I could tell you that the Rhino is going to be in the first arc, but that he's not going to be in the role you might think, and that the first arc is also going to have a brand new villain. I mean, part of it for me is having Miles deal with Spidey villains, because everybody loves Spidey villains, but also giving him his own sort of his own villains to take on and help make him his own, right? And so there's going to be both those threads going on, and they're both going to show up in the first book, along with a mega guest star in the
mega
first.
Guest star.
Yeah.
So the other thing that
another famous superhero from Brooklyn is going to be in the first.
I wonder how many famous superheroes from Brooklyn that we have. I'm not spoiling this for anybody. So last question, last but not least, the thing that I love about Spider-Man in general, and particularly about Miles Morales, is that there's always a lesson and there's always this big-hearted nature about doing the right thing, because as we know, with great power comes
great responsibility.
I just love that it's a call and response without even having to be like,
Yeah.
are we looking forward to some really cool life lessons that Miles is going to be learning in this new series?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, kind of his tag in the first issue is he's confident being Spider-Man now. He knows what his powers are, and he says to himself, you know, I know what my power is, but what is my responsibility, right?
And it's not, we could say great responsibility, but what do we mean by that? He's been in different dimensions. He's saved the world. He's saved the universe, and now he's back home in Brooklyn, and there's still things that are going on that he feels helpless about. You know,
he's still a teenager.
And so both in his own life, but also around him, right? And so he's gonna start to look at things closer to home and ask, what does that mean to have great responsibility when, say, somebody down the block and their kid are on the street, right? Things like that. And what does Spider-Man do about that, right? And he's gonna start asking himself these questions.
Well, I'm really excited for those of you who are on the interwebs, which I think is everyone. Please make sure you check out. I have a full-length interview with Saladin Ahmed about his work, about Miles Morales. There are a couple more things in there that is going to be coming up, and I am really, really, really excited about where you're going with this. Are we looking forward to any other projects coming down that you could talk about?
I have one big Marvel announcement that I unfortunately can't make yet. So I know, yes, yeah, throw vegetables.
I tried.
But
You can't knock a girl for
coming
trying.
soon.
Well, that just means you're going to have to be on Marvel.com and follow Marvel on Twitter and Instagram when we make that announcement, whatever that announcement is. Also, when's the next issue of Exiles coming out?
Wednesday, actually. Yeah, thank you. We're launching a Arabian Nights arc, which has the Black Panther as Sinbad and Valkyrie as Alibaba and a lot of other wild stuff. So, yeah, that comes out Wednesday.
I also enjoy the fact that Valkyrie is going to be Alibaba.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
The other thing that we have, so if you are in the audience, you will look and see that there are going to be pins coming out for Marvel's Voices. Wear them with pride. That very tall man over there has them, and we'll hand them out today. But thank you so much for being with us. Like, this is great.
Thank you. This is wonderful. I
great.
appreciate it.